Pixel 10 Pro is a direct attempt of Google to attack Apple's market share. This phone is the competitor of iPhone 16 Pro and is also priced very similarly. I bought the Pixel 10 Pro in color jade, and I should say it is probably the best looking phone I've had in recent years. Pixel 10 Pro also now supports Qi 2 magnetic accessories without the need to use an extra case, which makes the phone heavier. The Pixel is 8 grams heavier than the iPhone. The screen is very similar. They are both 120Hz, 6.3-inch LTPO display, meaning the refresh rate is variable. And also, this generation, Pixel did increase the PWM with a feature called Sensitive Eye, and now they are both 480Hz, which is a move in the right direction. Basically, higher PWM means the phone flickers less, and that means less headache and eye strain. The main difference on the display is that the iPhone has Face ID and Dynamic Island, while the Pixel is using an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. Of course, you can also use Face ID on Google, and it works very well, and it is secure too. The Pixel 10 Pro also has the classic camera bump of Pixel phones with a triple camera setup similar to iPhone 16 Pro. The main camera of the phones is on the same level spec-wise. The iPhone has a slightly larger sensor, but the Pixel has a lower f-stop. That means they get a similar amount of light. The pictures are similar in quality, but the color science is a bit different. iPhone has a bit more green, while the Pixel has more magenta, and I personally prefer that look on my skin tone. Also, I found Pixel to be usually a bit better at picking the right white balance, like in this picture here. But also, sometimes it doesn't nail processing. The iPhone here does a better job at retaining the highlights in the sky. For video too, the iPhone is more yellowish and has green and white balance, while the Pixel is slightly more towards magenta. I also find Pixel doing a bit too much processing overall. The video is usually a bit sharper, but not the kind of sharpness that I personally like. That can look good in certain situations though. For example, if you look at the building in the back, the Pixel had it pop more than the iPhone since it is sharpening the video and adding contrast. And that also happens on 5x zoom video. Both phones have a 5x telephoto lens. The telephoto lens is where the Pixel 10 Pro beats the iPhone 16 Pro in specs. The pixel count is higher, which is very useful for zoom pictures and cropping, and also the sensor size is larger. For example, on this 10x zoom picture, the Pixel is offering better quality overall. The Pixel also has a crazy 100x zoom now that is using generative AI to reconstruct the image. The result can be super nice if you are taking a picture of buildings, but it is not without problems. For example, I took a picture of Xiaomi 10 and Xiaomi 10 Pro with 25x zoom here. If we zoom in further, 200x on Pixel, the phone generates text that doesn't actually exist in real life, and that's, in my opinion, problematic. The problem is that whenever you take a picture of anything with zoom now, you have to always wonder if the picture is real and whether the statue actually looks like this, or it is just a heavily modified picture that merely reflects reality based on AI hallucination. The selfie camera of the Pixel 10 Pro is wider, which is always something I prefer, especially for group pictures. Now we are testing the microphone quality. We are on the iPhone 16 Pro, and now we are testing the microphone quality on the Pixel 10 Pro. The ultra camera of both of them is 48 megapixel, with the difference that the Pixel here has a lower f-stop, meaning you get more light into the sensor, and I do find the picture here better on the Pixel. Both of them can also take macro shots with the ultra-wide camera, and here the iPhone picture is more vivid and warmer. Aside in this specific photo, I do find the Pixel having a better process overall, especially if we punch into the dome. I find the iPhone to be over-processed and over-sharpened. The Pixel photos are also, of course, heavily processed, but they are still slightly on the more natural side. On zoom pictures at night, the white balance is very different. The reality here was something in between them, and neither really nailed the colors. The same in the ultra-wide shot at night. The Pixel is too cold and iPhone is too warm. For video processing at night, the iPhone is simply doing a better job here. The video is less shaky and much more usable than the Pixel one. Overall, I do think the iPhone is doing a better job in the video department, and it also has 120 frames per second plus log shooting. The Pixel does 8K upscaling though, but for that you should upload your videos to the cloud. Performance is where the Pixel phones were behind, and Google tried to bump up the performance of its phones by making a better architecture and also producing its chipsets by TSMC and not Samsung Foundry. It's basically where Apple and Qualcomm produce their chipsets. Around Geekbench and in single core, iPhone got around 3500, while Pixel was around 2200. For multi-core, the iPhone was around 8900, while Pixel was around 6100. I also ran the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme test, which tests the performance of the graphic unit. Here, iPhone got a score of 4800, while Pixel got 3200, which means iPhone is around 50% more powerful in gaming. Overall, the Pixel 10 Pro is smooth, but just know that it is not the same level as the iPhone 16 Pro. That's not important right now, but since Pixel 10 Pro promises 7 years of software updates and iPhone 5 to 6 years, it's going to be important 5 years down the line when the operating systems and animations will inevitably get heavier. Of course, we can't talk about Pixel and iPhone without mentioning Android versus iOS. The Pixel 10 series is launched with Android 16 Material Expressive, while iPhone 16 Pro is running iOS 26 Liquid Glass Beta. Both operating systems got a major UI rehaul, and now they actually look quite different. The iOS has these glass-style icons. If you go to the quick settings, everything is transparent. It does, in my opinion, create a little bit of a usability issue though. The theory is that Apple is preparing us for the era of augmented reality and Apple Vision Pro. I personally prefer how Android looks right now, but it's just my personal preference. The Pixel Quick Settings is also now transparent, and when you interact with the icons or notification, you get some nice haptic feedback, and some kind of physics elements are also implemented. Look aside, both are trying to give a similar set of functions. For example, if you hold the power button on Pixel, you connect to Gemini, while on the iPhone, Apple Intelligence is gonna power up. Or for example, Google added the circle to search function, where you can circle around anything and search for that. Apple added something similar where you can take a screenshot of anything and then scratch over the object and get what you are looking for. But overall, Google is always a step ahead. For example, in Google Photos, you get a crazy amount of editing options using AI. You can also easily just select any object and remove it from the scene, whereas for the Apple, the feature is very clunky and you're probably better off using another app. The battery capacity of the Pixel is 4870 mAh, while the iPhone is 3582. That's a big difference, but in real life, the Pixel doesn't give you much more battery. I did everything you saw in this video in a day, and by the end of it, the iPhone was at 30%, while the Pixel was at 34% battery left. So the difference is not mind-blowing. Regarding durability, both should be durable enough, but the EU rating for Pixel 10 Pro is 270 falls, and it is Class B, while the iPhone is 90 falls, and it is categorized as Class C. Just put a case on your phone and don't worry about it. Both are also IP68. So overall, from my perspective, hardware-wise, the phones are almost identical. Pixel 10 Pro has a slightly better camera setup, while iPhone is slightly lighter and has a dynamic island. It also has a camera button and also an action button. And the choice boils down to Android versus iOS. If you are following this channel, you know that I am using both iPhone and Android phones, and I'm definitely not biased. I do say though that I prefer Android because of better navigation, things like the universal back gesture, and also clipboard when I'm copy-pasting things into the chat. But I also like how I am still using my iPhone 11 after so many years, and how the phone still feels smooth despite running iOS 26 on it. And generally, my iPhone works better with my MacBook and Mac Studio. I would say you can't go wrong with either of the phones, and maybe pick the operating system you are more comfortable with. If you also want to save a bit of money, you can maybe try Pixel 10 or Galaxy S25 instead. If you want to see the comparison of Pixel 10 versus Galaxy S25, you can watch this video next. Thanks for tuning in to TechMo, and I will see you in the next one. Also, it's like 3 a.m., so if I was not super focused, I am sorry.